Yeah, so for folks that are regular viewers of our show, the setup looks a little bit different tonight. I'm out in the shop tonight. The birds are screaming in the background. We're a little stripped down tonight. I wanted to kind of give this show a little bit different look. And we were talking a little bit about some of the technology we use. And look, we're a budget operation. We are doing things well beyond our abilities and our abilities to afford them and our abilities to produce them. But through the use of smoke and mirrors, we somehow get it done. And actually, a rarity tonight is that I have the Skype camera that I'm talking to you guys on and my broadcast camera sort of linked together, so I'm giving everybody eye contact at the same time. Usually, when I'm in my office, my Skype camera is off here to one side, my broadcast camera is right in front of me. So the person I'm actually interviewing is not seeing. They're basically seeing a different view, and they're seeing like the side of my head and my janky office back wall and this C-clamped piece of green fabric that we use for our chroma key, and like the June 1986 copy of Hustler that's like stuffed in my shelf back behind there.
I actually think that's the Pirelli calendar, isn't it? Yeah. That's allowed to be in the office.
Battlestar Galactica action figures with the arms broken out. I know will be collectible someday, so I gotta keep them around.
Show them out.
Well, just to prove that we're high tech, I'm about to play the theme song through my little speaker here. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a podcast designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. Whatever kind of Le Champ or track dog you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate. We even think you Drifto Hella Flush guys are, right? As long as you drive it hard and build it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussion, tips, tricks, news and notes from the world of low buck racing, and if you can handle it, Chrissy will give you just a tip. I'll be your pit marshal. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for coming back and listening to another over-promising and under-delivering episode of our podcast. This is episode 27, and we are...
What?
I know, right?
I know.
We are curiously thrilled to have a guest. This is amazing. We have JG Pasterjack, the art director and production manager for Motorsports Marketing or Grassroots Motorsports, Classics Motorsports, etc. JG, please introduce yourself to those on our podcast.
So this is 2018, so that means I am just about to celebrate my 28th anniversary at Grassroots Motorsports Magazine.
Wow,
that's fantastic!
Yeah. 10 years in the car magazine business are not typically that long, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm not really qualified to do anything else. So I've been there for 28 years now. I do, a lot of the layout and design for the magazines. I managed a couple of project cars every year. I host our weekly live show, which is usually Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on Facebook and YouTube. And we've diversified a lot in the last several years. We're doing events now. We've got the Midi coming up at Road Atlanta in a few weeks. Yes. We've got our $2,000 challenge in Gainesville every year. So, we're a small company. We're a small family-owned company, and we all kind of do a little bit of everything. And I apologize in advance. I got these new glasses. This is my first ever pair of progressive bifocals. So if I'm constantly nodding, it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with everything you say. It just means I'm trying to get things in focus. So
or falling asleep.
Yeah, we tell everybody it's because he agrees. I'm overdue for a set of progressives myself, but I'm too stupid and macho to drag myself to that.
Well, now that the introductions are over, let's move on to our opening bit. What you working on? Chrissy, why don't you start us off?
So we did some car maintenance this weekend. I changed the oil in the Mazda, which it needed it pretty badly. We haven't done it in
almost 10,000 because we
almost 10,000.
Oh God!
Yeah. Totally normal. Totally normal for Jeff.
Totally fine.
How can we extend it that much, Chrissy? What have we been doing?
Oh, well, we changed the engine not that long ago. We're at 100,000?
That's not why.
I think I know why.
What a great way to
that's
treat your new engine.
No, we send the oil out to Blackstone after we change it. And last time, after 9,000, they said, go longer. So we went longer. So.
And the same thing with my parents' car. My parents' 5, they did theirs, and we sent that away. And it was that was even longer. I won't even say that number. But theirs was fine, too. So All good.
You
So
should totally put a link to that up on the Facebook because to have your oil analyzed. This is news to me. Who does this?
We use a company called Blackstone, and I specifically do it on the Mercedes a lot because that has that weird head gasket, head bolt issue that can catastrophically fail. So if you see any trace of coolant in the oil of a Mercedes M156, you better stop driving it right now.
Okay, because I love my Benz.
So I also got 2 new snow tires on clearance, but because one had a bubble, we were chalking that up to our trip up to the Poconos. We hit all of the potholes.
The old one had a bubble, right? Not a new one. You didn't buy a
I'm
clearance
sorry,
one that already had a bubble. Okay.
That's why
we bought a tire with a bubble.
One had a bubble. We got 2 new snow tires, which is great.
Good.
It was so cheap.
And I did a whole bunch of cleaning, and then we did some Rain-X as well.
Yeah.
Great. Chris, what you working on?
I helped a little bit with some of the stuff Chris was talking about and did a little more cleaning on the Mercedes because it's nice to get a Rain-X on there when it's a nice day. I've been working mostly at home on the office. So I get to work from home twice a week now. So I started painting this 4th bedroom that we don't use and doing all kinds of stuff, fixed a broken door, etc. Just house stuff. The car stuff starts soon. I'm sending the fuel injectors for the Honda out to get cleaned and balanced to make sure they're going to work. And the pistons are coming from JE, and we'll start tearing into that soon, though.
Yeah. Why don't you, since we have
national
some new
champions, suckers.
Yeah, I was going to say, since we have some new people, why don't you mention exactly what motor that is in our Honda Lemons car?
Yeah, we have
since Jeff can't remember.
No, Jeff always calls it the
I
wrong
said
number.
it's wrong.
I always do it wrong.
Exactly. It's a
D16Y8.
Wow, you got it! Congratulations! Yeah, it's
so
a
many letters
cams,
to
Jeff?
pick from.
How many cams?
4, 2, 5, 7, 3.
single cam, 1 cam VTEC.
What? Just one.
In an EF hatch, and the car does all right. We have a lot of fun with it. We've been racing it for years. It's I love it. I've just been an EF Honda fan for my whole life, so keep rolling with them. So that's that. Mental, what are you up to?
So I mentioned a couple weeks ago, my dad gave me back my V-Star. That was his V-Star. This bike was made in 1999, still doesn't have 20,000 miles on it. My dad had turned it into a long-distance kind of touring bike, and I am turning it into a bobber. So I stripped the windshield, the saddlebags, and all the fenders and everything off of it, and decided I would throw this stuff up on various marketing. And as much as I hate dealing with weirdos on Craigslist, 5 Mile, Let Go, all of those things, infinitely worse. So I put it up there. Within 5 minutes, I have people sending me broken English text of how much for part.
You take broken PlayStation and one wheel.
Yeah, I will trade you a lucky rabbit's foot and a paperclip I found. But this one guy actually sends me, and he's like, "How much for all?" And I added it all up, and I knocked $30 off of it. Said $250. He comes back and says $100. No. I said, hey, these are all brand new parts, and I discounted them 50% before I put them on there, $250. And he goes, fine, I'll, $150. No. And then he agrees to $250, and he goes, when can I come get bike? And that's the exact phrase. I'm like, I'm not selling the bike. And then I thought about it for a second. Did you offer me $100 for a running license tagged motorcycle? And then his first complete sentence, oh, I'm sorry, man, I really don't pay a whole lot of attention. The next day he sends me a message and goes, how much for feet? I'm out of this.
He wanted your feet. He just wanted you to touch you with your feet.
This is getting infinitely weirder.
Oh.
So I'm done. I'm done with all of those little apps on the phone. Yeah.
Oh,
Jeff,
wonderful.
what do you got?
So it was my birthday weekend, 46th birthday weekend, and I did
floors.
You're
so young and cute.
Yeah, I know. So my 9-year-old we mentioned last week, had a floor with carpet that smelled like cat pee. All the cat pee carpet is gone. Project Creep immediately started. I had holes on the floor I needed to patch. I patched the floor, leveled it out with floor level, and started putting in the floor. And I got like it's a click lock vinyl plank. For those of you who didn't listen last week, I got 3 rows in. I was getting really excited, and my son went to bed and went, "Daddy, stop banging!" So I had to stop. So it's not done yet.
Oh, you're on a roll.
I know. Once you get going, like those click locks, man, they just fly in as soon as you write it. But
and pretty soon, Jeff, I'm hoping you can pull out our other Lemons car, the storied chassis in motorsports, the Isuzu Ombre. Everyone knows how amazing.
I thought you were going to ask him to come
the
over.
History, right? The history of the Isuzu Ombres in motorsports. So Jeff's going to pull it out and get at and see if we can actually make it run well-ish.
It runs eventually.
And speaking of storied and fabled Lemons cars, how's the Citroen paperwork going, Jeff?
That's a good question.
Nowhere.
Did you call Rhode Island?
Still nowhere.
Did you call Rhode Island?
Still waiting Rhode Island. I did not call Rhode Island.
Call Rhode
I've been
Island.
very busy.
Show her some skin, Jeff.
I am.
She wants to rub the head, and you're gonna.
Hey, I'm gonna change the topic. JG, what are you working
Scary.
What am I? Actually, I'm sitting right in front of one of our primary project cars this year. This is a 2004 Corvette Z06 commemorative edition, and I'm actually going to be up in Georgia this weekend at the SCCA, the Tire Rack National Tour, competing in A Street. And immediately after I get back, the entire suspension gets ripped off the thing, sent up to Connecticut, and we're just basically going nuts with it, way far ahead of schedule from what we intended to. But it's getting full spherical bearings and coilovers and all kinds of cool stuff. We're going to be competing at the Optima Drive Auto X event in a couple of weeks if it all goes back together in Charlotte, and it's a lot of fun. I've been a Corvette fan for many years. I got to address something Mental said though about selling stuff online, and I mean, we're always doing projects, so we always have stuff that we need to get rid of, and I've actually started keeping way more stuff because I can't. The phrase this is the phrase that will haunt me for my entire life is. The phone rings. Hey, are you selling this? Yeah, I am. Well, what's the least you will accept? You know what? The least I will accept is for you to treat me with the respect that you would treat any other human being.
Is that what you answer?
Actually go through the bargaining process. Yeah, like the least I will accept is for you to come here and watch me destroy these parts in front of you because you've tried to. I will
amazing.
I will burn to cinder and ash all that I have made in this world if I think I can catch you in the flames. The least I will accept is to watch you suffer while I do that. So, like, I feel your pain on that one. I really do.
Always put in every Craigslist ad, will not negotiate over the phone.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
And then, but when you do respond to Craigslist ads, and especially you, make sure that we are people. So we say, "Hi, I speak English.
I'm not crazy.
I am college educated. I would like to pay whatever your $500 to buy the thing."
Use punctuation. Little things like that goes a long way.
My favorite one is I'll put up there and go, by the way, if we do this deal, it will be cash from my hand to yours, not you and my shipper, because I'm not some sort of prince, and we'll do business face to face the way God intended. And that usually gets me a response, especially if it's from someone my age.
Absolutely. Shall we move on to the next segment, everyone? News and notes time.
Yes.
So I think I'm the only one with news and notes here.
No.
There's a second story.
Mental
I'm sorry.
Can't let anybody else do something without him. So,
oh, gosh. Well, I will begin since I am kind of the entertainment reporter of Everyone Racers. The viral video that has been seen everywhere, even my mother has seen it. I assume you know what it is. Some fool took his door chime out of his Volvo and put in Toto by Africa. Mental is playing the 8-foot song right now.
Wait, iTunes doesn't like when we do that.
I know.
Oh, it's 8-bit. It doesn't count as music.
So the only redeeming fact in this entire video is it is kind of somewhat interesting. He pets a cat in the middle.
I have not seen this video, and I need to watch
it.
No.
Everyone has seen this video. We'll link it up. But I just wanted to say that for $10, you too can go to Amazon and get yourself a recordable sound module. They're like those little things that are in like greeting cards. Record it yourself. A little bit of solder, and you too can have the door chime of any song you want on the planet.
Does it have to be a song? Can I make it? At ringing the doorbell, like,
absolutely.
Hello, someone's at the door.
Close. No, it's like close the door. It's like in your car when you leave the door.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was thinking this was a doorbell.
No, it's the doorbell on his Volvo. And the video basically is he walks in, he opens his Volvo, he pulls that the panel off the steering wheel, and there's this really annoying like like chime, and he unplugs it. He takes it over to his bench. He rummages through a whole bunch of them. One of them says Toto on it. he plugs it in, he puts the key in, and it plays that 8-bit song.
Although I like the idea of Chrissy nagging me when I get into my car. Mental, your door is open. Mental, the door. Mental, would you close the door?
That would have been helpful in your janky ass RV that as we drove it, the door kept opening.
Only when you guys drove it, because I drove it all the way home and it didn't have a problem.
Well, la-di freaking da.
All the way there, I had a problem. We're like, not the door.
Yeah. I think there's a real missed opportunity there. That if you're going to switch out the door alarm in a Swedish car, why aren't you using ABBA?
Oh, brilliant. You're absolutely right.
Touche.
I saw the sign. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So that means I need to get some Japanese power pop for the NSX.
Yes. That would be amazing. Or we just have Mental singing it, which would be just as funny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that if that's racist or not, but it's not my intention.
You know what we're going to put on all the race cars, right?
Oh, you're darn Skippy. Let's hear it.
It's like not up.
You can't even hear it. It's all right. And JG's Corvette is so manly. That needs...
545 and it's 545. Gotta get a Whopper and a 40 ride.
Except,
I know you feel.
Oh, no. You feel me.
I know you feel me.
Pause it before it curses. Let's move on. This is a horrible story. Nobody should care. Go watch the internet.
Okay.
Bill Caswell is selling his Baja Pig, which was an E30 that he turned into a Baja 500 car. And I actually read the original post, and it just sounded so depressing, like when you finally give up on this project, and he has dumped an ungodly sum of money into it, and they can't get it to ever even barely make it to the Baja 500. But if you can go to Instagram, Bill Caswell's Instagram, it's on there. And shameless coverage, or pimpage, rather, of the excellent Grassroots Motorsports coverage of the Amila Island Concourse. So go to their webpage. There are some gorgeous photos there that make you question every financial choice you've ever made in your life.
And we actually had a car that we were showing in it this year.
Yes.
One of our projects from Classic Motorsports. Actually, if you go over to the Classic Motorsports page, I've known Tim Sutter, our publisher, for 30 years now, and it never ceases to amaze me the level of commitment he puts into his projects. And part of the reason we're so successful is because he is willing to literally start anywhere and finish right where he desires. And the Lotus Elan that he showed at
it is so pretty.
And if you see what that thing started as, I mean, it literally started as a pile of parts in a field that they had to machete vines off of it. I mean, it was cracked in half. It was literally broken in half. And 2 years later, there it is on the field at Amelia, man.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. I don't get Grassroots Motorsports, so I'm gonna have to check it out.
Oh my
Is
God!
it on the web
What?
content?
You just admitted that?
Are you seriously,
Yeah.
Jeff?
I don't get Classic. I only get Grassroots. Sorry.
Okay.
Go to
okay.
There you go. Just go to the GRM
Recovery.
webpage. It's linked on the homepage, and it's gorgeous.
Go to GRM. It's linked from there, or go to classicmotorsports.com, and it's there as well.
We'll put it in our show notes for this.
Yeah, I mean,
podcast.
really, that thing started with like a door handle and a bit of chunk of fiberglass, and that was it.
It was bad, man. Like, it was the. I don't even know if it was parts car good. It was the Corvette summer bad. That's
I
so bad.
can remember Marjorie actually questioning whether or not that was going to make it. She's like, well, it had this very passive aggressive, well, this came home.
Yeah.
That never happens. Well, I'm pretty sure that's your Mental. That's your wife.
Yeah,
And
we'll talk about that later when we get the hella sweet but terrible.
Okay.
All right.
Nice.
So, what are we talking about tonight, Mental?
So tonight we're going to talk about high-performance driver education. Now, we heard JG talk about it earlier. Now, last week, if you haven't listened to the episode, you should pop over there. Listen to Bill. He's a brand new newbie, and he's doing it right. He's got his whole family involved. It's going to be a great time, and they're getting into crap can racing. And one of the things that he mentioned is that him, and particularly his son, who I think needs a little humbling, hey, Bill, son, how are you? They were talking about the need for getting some high-performance driver education, and we've all both taken and taught and sat in the right seat of this high-performance driver education. Now, we'll talk about it more as we get into there. I like to refer to it as a gateway drug. I've done a lot of right seat instruction, and I tell people, hey, before you know it, you're going to be spending your weekends teaching other people how to drive their cars, just so you can get a little bit of track time, man. Just a little bit of track time, just a little. I just need a little. I just need 20 minutes. For other people, they once they get bitten by the bug, they kind of backtrack a little bit and get in there and start teaching. Chris?
Was it Peter Egan that said that this whole motorsports thing makes heroin addiction feel like a vague craving for something salty?
Salty.
Absolutely.
Yep.
One of my favorite quotes.
Yeah.
Yes. But on the subject of high-performance driver education, sometimes you don't even have to start out with an official organization. You could just jump in and drive the car of your dreams. Right, Chris?
That's exactly right, Mantle, because Extreme Experience puts you in the driver's seat of some of the world's best supercars at over 20 racetracks coast to coast. No speed limits, no shifting restrictions, no governors. Head to xxspeed.com, choose your supercar, find racetracks near you, and start making a story of your own. You get 7 models of exotic cars and supercars to choose from, 20-plus tracks, including a year-round location in New Orleans with a 3,200-foot straightaway. A pro instructor like me or Mental or Jeff, I don't think that's being very generous, but hey, we're
very generous.
We're going to be in the car with you. We're going to help you explore the car's limits and learn to drive the racing line and not crash it. That's very important. And save amazingly 25% when you use the code EveryoneRacers, all one word, no spaces, at xxspeed.com to book today. So take the opportunity. Extreme Experience, it's your turn.
Woo! And next month, they're going to be at Atlanta Motorsports Park. Come on up. Say hi to me. I'll be instructing with Extreme Experience because not only have they hired me again, they've hired my ROTC cadets, and they're going to be making a very generous donation to our activities fund, and we'll be up there working that all weekend, the 26th through the 28th of April. Chris?
Can people pay more to not have you be their instructor? Is that an option?
Yes.
No.
But the donation has to go directly to my students.
Okay,
So,
fair.
yeah.
Good.
Since we're on the topic of donations, I got a great donation for my birthday this
Is it a
weekend.
donation?
In case you missed it, all of my friends have seen
Yes.
it. Christy's mom sent me 2 tins of cookies. 2.
Yes.
Count them, 2 tins of cookies. They were amazing. Thank you, Christy's mom.
I also got 2 tins of amazing cookies, and because they're so delicious, I knew I'd eat them all myself. I had to take them to school, and they lasted roughly 45 minutes before all of my cadets devoured.
45 minutes?
Not well, because they
You
had to
hide
go to
them?
class eventually. And also a really cool birthday card. That birthday card was awesome. It's still sitting on our counter. So again, thank you, Chrissy's mom.
JG, play your cards right. Maybe you'll get cookies.
Seriously,
Yeah,
you want these cookies. You want these cookies.
My mom makes great cookies. I'm married to a woman who could not make ice without using a recipe, though. But
Hopefully she's not a listener.
Yeah.
No. She did not get the cooking gene. She got the cleaning gene, which I am actually. I'm a pretty good in the kitchen. So we're a good team. Like I can literally stand in the middle of the house and not knowing where she is, like throw a towel up in the air, it'll never hit the ground. So this come out of nowhere, like 1987 era Jerry Rice, and just kind of grab it before it hits the ground, and immaculate reception it to the washing machine. So yeah, get those mom cookies, and I like those, but appreciate them when they show up.
Yeah. So, I know you've been in the Lemons world. We use Chrissy's mom's cookies to bribe the corner workers.
Okay.
We don't bribe the judges. We actually take them packets. And
And
our
I think
black
it's been
flag,
helpful.
our black flag numbers have dropped drastically as
That's
long as
really-
we keep Mental out of the driver's seat
Yeah, that too.
No promises.
and get cookies.
The last couple times we showed up at CMP, they've actually held the corner worker meeting. Hold on, the Three Pedal Mafia is not here yet. Wait. Oh, here they come.
Here they come.
Here's the important stuff.
Let's move on. Listener feedback time. Mental, you got some listener feedback?
Now, I got to apologize to Jimmy Johnson. He's the chief safety steward at Extreme Experience. And 2 episodes ago, when we did the Fires Bad, Not Burn, I actually got all that information about the different sort of firefighting chemicals from Jimmy. Jimmy is a retired fire chief. He's also the chief of safety for Extreme Experience, an instructor for Extreme Experience, and he was the chief safety guy at Sandia Raceway in New Mexico. So, Jimmy, I'm sorry I missed your brother. Folks, come out to Extreme Experience. Say hi to Jimmy. He's awesome. And Rich, also from Extreme Experience, mentioned on the last episode, he somehow thought that Jeff was Chrissy when he was listening to that episode. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. And he said, please don't put that on listener feedback. But, hey, sorry, Rich, you told me so. That just happened.
Let's do it again. everyone. This is Jeff.
This is Chrissy.
This is Jeff.
Chrissy. I'm a soprano. This is Chrissy.
Oh, I have to mention that I have been watching the listener feedback, and the listener feedback indicates that our fire episode was our least funny episode, but our most tech-heavy episode.
Well,
I guess we didn't make enough jokes.
Well, that we can talk of all the failures and things that we've done trailering, and it's hilarious. But most fire-related failures, not so funny.
True.
No.
True.
We also got feedback from Dave C, actually 3PN team member. Dave C wanted to tell everybody that he found out this week that Interstate sells blemished batteries at heavy discounts with no warranty. And also to tell us, yeah, if you have a distributor near you, apparently it's a thing to do.
Yeah.
Also says if someone Ralphs in your car, especially the last race of the season, make sure to clean the belts really well before you put it under cover for the winter. Because otherwise, when you take it out in the spring, it's a little bit of a science experiment in those spots. So, yeah.
Ralph had to come over and clean that himself.
Yeah.
It wasn't actual Ralph.
It was Ralph Jr. that did.
I was going to say, who puked in which car?
It was Ralph Jr. in the Cressida.
Oh, I didn't know the Cressida got puked in.
Yeah, not much, but
but it's enough.
Enough.
How much is an acceptable amount of vomit in your race car?
Zero.
Subject for a future episode.
Zero. Yeah.
All right. So one more person, Mark Furman. I believe that's how you spell it. I'm not how you pronounce it. Not exactly sure who Mark is. Does anybody know Mark? He mentioned
he's a listener number 13, I think.
Listener number 13. Officially, he said pretty good advice on the last episode. That was the one on the one with Bill and everyone. But he has to tell us that he does not agree with our thoughts on automatic transmissions and endurance racing. He says autos seem to do perfectly fine in Lemons. From what he's seen, you don't have any more issues than in standard equipped car. But that being said, you do have to take care of them. Just as with the engine, heat is going to be the big killer of an automatic transmission, and having a good transcooler is recommended for good longevity. So absolutely great advice.
I agreed.
Hey,
there's race winners that are autos.
Very few, but it's the other ones that are the autos are okay. Like the TH400 in our Rolls Royce survived perfectly well, as did the Borg Warner 35 made of glass in the Citroen also survived. So we'll take it.
Well, neither of those cars exactly race.
Yeah, that's not
on
really
the racetrack, but
close enough.
Oh, and they both went to a bunch of different races. So they went slowly. They raced most of the weekends sometimes, and so that adds up.
And that's kind of how some HPDs go, especially when you start. You're going a little slowly sometimes. Eventually, maybe you start to race. And so, Mental, let's talk a little bit about that.
All right, so we're going to talk about high-performance driver education. Now, just to be a nerd, I went to Wikipedia, and they define it as driving schools held on dedicated racetracks designed to teach drivers proper high-speed driving techniques. And as JG mentioned earlier, the E can stand for a variety of things, depending on what your insurance policy says. So it could be a high-performance driving event, high-performance driving enjoyment, high-performance driver education. But around the globe, and the National Autosport Association defines it as a high-performance driving event to be used by their participants to enjoy driving their vehicles for the improvement of their driving skills with the hope of becoming a safer driver. Myself, I look at that as it's a chance to get on a racetrack in a controlled environment where you don't have to worry about all the factors of doing stupid things on the street. And I like to think of HPDE as a very mentorship-oriented environment where folks are genuinely there. They want to make you faster, and they want to make you better, and they want to do it in a controlled environment without the actual pressure of competition. Now, folks, your mileage may vary if you've got a crappy instructor, but I highly value HPDE, and I consider it at this point in my racing career an obligation, really, to kind of give it back. So I teach as often as I can.
Absolutely. I think that's why all of us do it. That's why I do it, too, is to get new people into sport. I had someone who was an instructor for me when I started, too, and got me going. Mm-hmm. And we all need that person to get us started and to get us controlled, safely, get up to speed and get better. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, this is something done on a track and in a controlled environment, typically with what you already own, what is in your driveway. So, very few, and you guys have done a lot more than I have. What is the percentage in the average event of prepared cars versus like street cars?
Yeah, preparation is a word that's tough to define when we're talking here? Because preparation can be very basic, or I've seen cars that are basically race cars. Mental, what's up?
Well, I'm adding on to that. It depends on where you are. Now, down in New Orleans, just the community they have there, it's a little tighter. Their HPDE, I'd say almost half the stuff that shows up is race cars. But here around the Atlanta area, where you've got a steady feed of new folks, and the same thing when I was out in Oklahoma, because they had a couple of different racetracks around Texas and Oklahoma, you'd see maybe 10, 15% would be highly prepared race cars. There'd be a handful of modified street cars, but the vast majority of it is always entry-level people. In fact, they usually have a shortage of instructors that are willing to sit right seat with newbies.
I think to address what Mendel said there, you're actually getting there's enough groups out there now where you're getting each of them is sort of serving a different genre within the broader scope of HPDEs. I mean, you have just in NASA, you've got HPDE 1 through 4. Those groups at an event can look very, very different from each other. With the HPDE 4 groups being, I don't want to say competition groups, but a very competitive, very, very hardcore group, and the 1 and 2 groups being a little bit less so. If you go to something like a Chin Motorsports event, for example, you're going to see race cars. You're going to see a lot of real fast stuff. You're going to, a 300 horsepower car at a Chin Motorsports event here in the Southeast is going to be at the back of the pack. But then on the other side, you have stuff like the SCCA's new Track Night in America program that is intentionally designed to move away from racers using it for cheap testing and use it as people that have never experienced track events before to be able to get their car out on track. And you see, people in mini Countrymans out on the track there. So, there's definitely different groups serving different folks. But I think the nice thing is within all those groups is they are still open to all comers.
I've seen
Chris, go ahead.
I've seen a beige Corolla at a Track Night in America on Steely's. So, yeah. So Jeff,
I bet he passed somebody. I bet that beige Corolla got around somebody.
Probably not.
And the reason I brought that up is because, my section that we talked about when we prepared tonight was really what are the baselines? If you've never done this before, what do you got to do to your daily driver to put it out on the track? Whether it's a weekend fun car or what you got to take to the track Monday morning or take to work Monday morning, how do you turn like that street car into that weekend warrior that's going to at least survive the day? And the very first thing, and I sound like the brake guy because it's the second week in a row I'm talking about this, but like you need quality brakes, you need quality tires, you need to flush your system, a full flush. You need to go over your car to make sure that everything is stock or better condition, or don't even show up. If you have a bubble tire like Chrissy had it, or snow tire, you're not bringing that. I mean,
don't bring snow tires to
don't bring snow tires to an HPD.
Unless it's a lemons race, you really don't want to bring snow tires.
Which I've seen that, and I still don't understand. Why bother?
Yeah. Like, and if you can't do this inspection, if you don't know how to change your brakes, if you don't know how to do a full flush on your fluids, you got to take it somewhere and get someone to do it. But also, oil over the full mark. You have to clean your car.
Oh,
you
that's
have
a good call.
have the crap rolling around in your footwells, because you're going to be doing a lot more G's on that track than you're going to be doing on a regular day, and you sure as hell don't need that Rubik's Cube sliding under the brake pedal.
So that's why Jeff doesn't bring...
Why do you have a Rubik's Cube in your car?
Have you seen Jeff's car? That's why he doesn't use his Mazda for HPDE, because it would take him about a week to take all the detritus out of it.
Absolutely.
But it's a valid point. Like if you've got a Coke can or something and it's wedged under your seat, it's coming out from underneath that seat the first time you really get on those brakes, and then it's going to wedge itself under that brake pedal, guaranteed.
Yep.
This makes me think of when we went to a one lap. So we were traveling in the car, and we would get out and go to tracks. I'm sorry, this isn't in the notes anywhere. But basically, we made sure that everything, even the glove compartment, your center console, everything needs to, it will roll. Like anything will become dislodged. So if you have something in your center console or glove compartment, you should be prepared to remove that as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Full clean bill of health for the car. I think you have to get close to track pads or high performance pads. I really like rolling on the street. on Power Stop
Power Stops.
Z23s. Yeah, I really like my Power Stop Z23 because it's what I roll street. ST43s, the official brake pad of the Three Pedal Mafia for actual road racing, might be a little much.
Yeah, they're fairly streetable if you're not going to drive around a lot. Like the Civic or the Ombre, when we go to stop cold on a fresh track, it stops fine. So they're going to dust a lot. They're going to make some noise, but
and you're going to be paying a lot and probably not changing them for Monday morning. And I think that's why it's good to get a good
something like
streetable
like a Hawk HP Plus.
Hawk would be great. Absolutely.
An example.
Yeah. But anyway, full clean bill of health. Put on those good pads. Flush everything. Make sure everything is right. Get everything out of the car. And this is really important. You gotta pump those tires up. You can't have them at a street level of inflation, or you're going to wipe the shoulders right off those tires. Again, you're doing a lot more.
If you're lucky. If you're not lucky, it's going to get worse.
Absolutely. You can wreck a tire trying to run it at normal pressures. Now, and this sounds kind of obvious to some of us, but you need to set that pressure. Let's say you're going for 4 pounds above your recommended, which is what a lot of people on the internet are saying. Advice varies. I'm not going to say that that's a good way to go, but you need to pump them up at home cold. That is a cold pressure. You don't drive to the track on the highway and then check the pressure to air them up at the track.
Good call.
You got to do it cold. You got to do it before you leave, or at least make sure that they are cold when you check that again. Go ahead, Chris.
I had an HPDE 2 student once who had a almost new Mercedes C63S AMG. So this is a 500 horsepower twin turbo Mercedes.
Oh my!
Big,
I've got the vapors now.
It had about 5,000 miles on it. It was as delivered from the showroom. So we go out on the first session. We're at Summit Point. We're doing 145 down the straight. The guy's doing pretty well. He's going hardish, but he's being safe about it. He's doing fine. We get into the pits, and I just poke around the car a little bit. He wiped off the left front tire basically in the one session, and he's definitely through about a third of the brake pads. So we spent the rest of that weekend learning car conservation, and he got that car to survive the rest of the weekend just by knowing that feeling when you're just grinding the tire off, just back a little off.
And I think what a lot of this speaks to is, and yeah, absolutely, you have to be mechanically prepared. You have to have these hard parts in place, but mentally you have to get yourself in a place, especially if it's the first time you've ever done one of these, where you realize that you're in a completely different world now, and the difference between hey, I've taken a couple of off ramps quick, or there's that one corner on my drive home that I took at 38 miles an hour today instead of 25 like is posted. You're in a completely different world of physics now, and the difference between 10 miles an hour over on an off ramp and hammer down the back straight at VIR lap after lap for 20-25 minutes at a time, the mechanical forces going into these cars is exponentially more than anything you've ever experienced. And this is not like back in the day when I started, when the guy in the 88 Civic Si could drive flat out with 101 horsepower for 20 minutes. A slow car has 260 horsepower.
Minivans now have 300 horsepower.
Minivans have 300. So, I mean, what's a bone stock Mustang GT doing down the front straight at VIR into turn one?
You know what the answer is? Way more than an average person can handle
the
next turn. And that's I love what you say here about, like, you need to be mechanically ready, but you need to be mentally ready that this is not a race. And I'm stepping on some other people who are going to talk about that. So I guess I'll just pass it off here. The only other thing that I wanted to say is that, when you're mentally getting there, just realize you're probably driving this car home. Yes. And you're probably driving it to work or school on Monday morning. So car preservation is the second most important thing on the track.
Yes.
What's the first one, Chrissy?
What?
What's first?
What's the first rule on the track?
Safety, right? You
Safety,
take care of yourself.
No, that's the third rule.
Come on.
Safety third.
No, I was really thinking of when Chris took the BMW to CMP, drove it down, then took it on the track day waiting for you all, and then I said, you have to get that home. So there's that.
Well, after
And I've made the mistake on the other side of that, and I ruined a 330 at a track at Pueblo, and I had to ride my motorcycle in 40 degrees for a week while I got a new set of tires and a new set of brake pads. So
Oh no.
after about 10 laps of me and the Z4M on total street 340 treadwear street tires and stock brakes, and I'm hanging with a Ferrari F430 and a track prep D46 M3, I finally said, you know what? No. I'm just going to relax while I still have it together. And I did. I drove it.
I think it's important that everybody have that conversation with themselves at some point, and it's something that at the magazine we have to deal with occasionally. Not luckily it hasn't happened to us yet, but it happens to our readers, and that is, you are in a situation here where you realistically might not drive that car home. And it's not necessarily that you are in a more high-risk environment than you are on the street, because chances are you actually are not. You're in a much more controlled environment than you are on the street. But at the same time, at 120 miles an hour on a racetrack, when something goes wrong, it continues going wrong till a lot of energy has been shed. It goes wrong for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, if you really sit down honestly and have that conversation with yourself, okay, if this all goes south, what does my life look like immediately after that? What's that call to my insurance company look like? What is that?
How mad is your girlfriend?
How mad's your wife, your girlfriend, your husband?
Yeah, there you go.
Husband.
What does that do to the shape of the shape of your existence after this? That your only transportation possibly has now been irreparably changed, and that's a good reality check for a lot of folks. And it's not something we like to beat into people, because these events can be just as safe, if not safer, than the drive to and from the events. But
But your insurance will probably cover the accident to and from the event, and may not cover it for track use.
But that's why you should call GRM advertisers Haggerty and others like them to get those HPDE policies, right?
You beat me to the plug. Yeah, Haggerty has some great track policies. Lockton Affinity has some great track policies. It's a thing now that you can get weekend track insurance.
Yeah, you don't have to hide from it.
Not a crazy
I think a lot of people hid from it for a while.
Look, the important thing is this is why $500 Miatas exist.
Yeah.
But Z4M's on the track are so much more fun.
Okay.
All right.
Mental, go.
Mental.
So we're talking about what you should bring. The most basic tools. Tire pressure gauge immediately, because now you're going to do those tire pressures cold, but they're going to change throughout the day, and you want to keep those on there. A lug wrench, because you just go through and tighten everything. I would say preferably a torque wrench. You can go to Harbor Freight, get a good, not a great, but a good torque wrench for next to nothing. If you've got locking wheel nuts, bring that lug nut. I've seen guys at track days completely unable to change a tire because it's sitting in their toolbox at the house. If you want to get a little advanced, while you're at Harbor Freight, grab one of their cheap aluminum jacks and jack stands. Do not change your tires on a jack. Put it on a jack stand. If you want to get really groovy with it, get a pyrometer. Those little infrared tire sensors. I still do the old school white shoe polish where I see how far I'm rolling over on my shoulders. So you mark a white line from the sidewall to the tread of your tire, and you can adjust pressures to get it right there exactly on that. You're going to need a helmet. For most HPDEs, they're going to let you have a motorcycle helmet. But if you're going to do this more than once, get on Safe Racer, get on Discovery Parts, get on one of those places, find a good closeout open face helmet. It's worth the investment. I'd bring a cooler. You're going to want some water and snacks. Last week, Chrissy talked about how hard this is on your body. It's more than you think it is, because I get this all the time from my coworkers. Oh, you're just driving. I do that every day. No, I'm racing, and it's like the difference between walking around the block and running a marathon. So you're going to want to hydrate. You're going to want to eat. I've gone an entire weekend and not peed. That's really bad, by the way. You want to bring a chair, layers of clothes, not just a big heavy jacket. Certain HPDEs are going to require you to have long pants, and they're going to require you to have long sleeve shirts. Make sure you know those rules beforehand. And I get a crappy
shaky
old
dogs.
blanket. Yeah, shaky dogs.
Don't bring them.
Dinner. I don't think the problem is. You're going to want to bring a blanket or a tarp to put all the stuff that goes inside your car on. Chris is going to talk about this later. And here's my thing. Now, JG's going to give you a counter opinion, but about the GoPros and the cameras. For your very first HPDE, I'm going to tell you to skip it. Yeah, it didn't happen if you're not there to show everybody on Facebook, but you really should be focusing on the education part of it. Learn to use the car, and then once you got to that point, then you can start getting in the video afterwards and go through that. But this is a discourse, so JG's going to give you another opinion, and I want you to listen to what he says, but focus on the car. There was a guy when I was in the PCA in Oklahoma. This guy had 6 cameras on his car, and we hated him. Because as he would roll up to the line of the autocross, he would jump out of his car and it would take him 30
them all
seconds.
And we know that GoPros turn on so easily.
No, they don't.
He was a cheapskate. He was a cheapskate, and 2 of them were 8mm cameras, and one of them was an honest-to-God VHS cassette in the back of the car. We hated this guy. It's a learning environment. Print the text sheet. Bring it with you beforehand. I always bring a notepad because I'm an old school guy and I write stuff down. Bring pens, not just for you, but for everybody. That's a good way to make friends, which leads into the next thing that you don't expect at an HPDE. It's a great networking opportunity. I don't care what business you're in. There's going to be somebody there that can help you, or you can help them, or you guys know the same person. Unless you're one of those Amway multi-level marketing people, then just stay at home. Don't ever do it. All right.
So, let me respond to your video thing there. And I see it a little bit differently. And actually, let me give a real quick shout out to the folks watching us on GRM Live tonight. We got some folks on YouTube. We got some folks on Facebook folks. As well. Yeah. And we're actually on live with the gang from E1R Racers. They're kind of running the show tonight. Where they asked me to be on their show, and I happily agreed as long as we could broadcast it live. So I'm not paying as close attention as I normally am to our chat. We actually have a couple of good questions from YouTube that I want to get to.
Ignore Bruce. Just ignore Bruce unless he's bringing you a beer.
No, we have a couple of great questions from YouTube that I want to get to in a few minutes. But let me address your question about video, and that goes back to what I alluded to earlier, in that there's many things the E can stand for. It can stand for education, entertainment, experience. And one of the things I think you have to do when you're first starting out in the sport is kind of decide for yourself what you want to get out of it. And that may change over time. It may evolve and it may change. But if you go to one of these events with a plan, and even if that plan is just, I want to have fun, I want to be safe, I want to do something I've never done before, then you're going to get more out of it than just showing up and not knowing what the hell is going on. And for some people, they want to use this as a stepping stone to competitive racing or competitive time trialing. Some people just want to have a good time and want to learn more. And I think that data acquisition is an important part of that learning process. And as long as and video obviously is one of the simplest forms of data acquisition, because it has pros, they sell them at Target and Walmart. And I'm sort of the mind that you can't have enough video, you can't have enough data until it becomes a distraction, like the guy with 6 cameras all over his car.
That's
where he's there to produce a show and not there to learn. But I think there's a lot to be gained from having that video, and maybe the best place to point that video camera is not out the front window of the car to show people how fast you're going. Maybe you point it at your feet. Maybe you want to see what your feet are doing one day if you're having trouble there. Yeah. Maybe you point it at your hands. I'm an autocrosser by trade, my background is mostly autocrossing, and I've done a lot of road racing, but I find that I always fall back into autocrossy type habits where I tend to move the wheel a little bit too fast. I tend to change my grip on the wheel. So for me, having a camera on my hands in a road race situation can let me spot some bad habits. Even at an HPDE, can let me spot some bad habits that I've brought over from autocrossing that may be perfectly appropriate for an autocross situation, but I need to kind of shed those habits to go fast on a racetrack where things aren't quite happening as fast and as out of control as they are in an autocross. So yeah, I'm a big fan of having that data, and it's easy and it's cheap. As like I say, as long as you're there to drive your car, you're not there to produce a video that's going to get 100,000 hits on YouTube. And if it does get 100,000 hits on YouTube, it probably means you balled your car up.
There's another reason why.
Or you shout, Nemesis! Chris, you guys
Yeah, well, just quickly, we've had a lot of success in the Civic in the endurance races with having the telemetry in the car that the driver can see. So you can self-coach while you're out there and understand how to make yourself better. Because when you're out there sometimes we go as long as 2, 3, 4 hours without stopping. You need a way to make sure that you know how well you're doing and to be as good a driver as you can in that time you have. So I like it too. So
let me circle back quick to something we were addressing earlier when we were talking about brakes and tires. We actually have a great question from some of our folks that are watching on YouTube now about we talked a lot about your brakes have to be good, your tires have to be good, but we sort of came at that from having the knowledge of what constitutes good.
Fair point. Fair point.
Absolutely right.
So for somebody absolutely just starting out, they've got a day job, they've never done this before. What are some resources that folks can use to sort of figure out, what some of these good parts are? Why just going to their local O'Reilly and buying the mid-grade stuff might not be the best? I mean, I know a good source, but I don't want to be a complete whore here. But what
I might be going there for you.
Before we get to that one, give me some other, because obviously there's stuff I don't know about because I'm kind of locked into my little world sometimes. So where do you go to get this information?
As a noob, I would start with a call to Tire Rack. Because they have all the products you're going to need, from daily driver stuff up through pretty hardcore race stuff, and they will be able to give you the recommendation for what's right for your situation. As you get more advanced, there's all kinds of wonderful publications out there that have interesting articles about these sorts of things. You might want to consider those. Yes. Those are great places to go. Metal, what do you think?
Also, that great publication has one of the most friendly message boards I think that exist on the internet. I would go to the I've gotten a lot of great information off the Grassroots Motorsports message board, and I've thrown it out there. And the thing about good tires, if you've heard of them, if it's a good brand, it's probably a good tire. And it's the thing is, if you're starting out new and it's Joe Smith's tire, you probably, and that's there's a lot of really good brand name tires out there that the hardcore racer guys have heard of, but stick with what you know and go with, you don't need the stickiest tire out there. What you need is the most communicative tire, especially if you're starting out in HPDE, because you've got to learn that tire conversation, which is the tire saying, okay, you're starting to push. Now you're starting to wear out tread. Now I'm starting to lose traction, and now I'm gone. And that conversation exists in any tire. It's just how long is that conversation? On a racing slick, it's a microsecond versus a street tire, which will give you those indications at various speeds.
Real quick, back to Tire Rack. They have a really good section on what the tires are good for. So I've done that when we've looked at the next kind of tires that we're going to get. You can rely on a brand you may know, but then you can compare and kind of figure out what you're.
That's an excellent point.
And they have all kinds of test results in there too, or really just give them a call. They're really nice. They're really nice people, and they will help you.
They are.
Absolutely. My favorite Tire Rack story is I was sitting at work ordering a set of tires for my Rally DSM, commonly known as the little turquoise bastard. And I was buying some snow tires that were off-size because they were specifically designed for off-roading in the woods of New Jersey. And I pushed send. I put my credit card information, and like a minute later, my phone rings. And I pick it up at work, and I'm like, and it says, "Hi, this is Fred from the Tire Rack. I've noticed that the size that you ordered doesn't exactly make sense to me. I really want to talk about your decision." And I said, "Okay, let me start from the beginning. This is a rally car. This is specifically." They said, "Oh, that's great. It'll work." And he actually said, "They're going to take a little while to get in. Let me offer a different size, which I think we don't have listed as recommended for your vehicle, but it'll work even better for you." Bam, perfect conversation.
Excellent.
Awesome.
And on the subject of
they're a fantastic resource. And actually, Tire Rack is the presenting sponsor of the SCCA's Track Night in America program. So they are a direct pipeline for for people with zero experience to get to the track. That's a great suggestion.
And speaking of trying to figure out how to start with all this, you need to figure out how to find an event too. So, JG,
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how someone might even find an event to get started with this?
You know, one of the great things about being an enthusiast today, 2018, is there are so many more opportunities to get on track than there were. I mean, you know, even 10 years ago, there are clubs everywhere. Sports Car Club of America obviously is one of the easy between the SCCA, SCCA.com and NASA, which is NASAProRacing.com. Those are basically your two largest nationwide clubs that have everything from again, first time on track in your daily driver to competitive wheel-to-wheel racing. But there's also just a ton of great independent clubs out there now. I mean, just in the Southeast, we have Chin Motorsports, who I think is now expanded into more areas around the country. We have folks like the BMW Club of America, Porsche Club of America.
I was going to say the Mark clubs are really good.
The Mark clubs, and most of those Mark clubs will have groups for non-Mark vehicles to also run. South Florida, there's clubs like FARA. So and a lot of tracks will actually run their own get on track programs. So if you have a track nearby, check out their website, and a lot of times you'll find just open track days. As far as general clearinghouses to go and check that stuff out, again, not to plug ourselves too much, but Grassroots Motorsports message board is a great place to go and just throw up a topic. Hey, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Where can I go and
it really is. I've done exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're in Tulsa, you're going to go to Hallett, which is a fantastic track. But yeah, this is, man, with $200 and a nice car, you can actually get on track now. And 20 years ago, that was not an option without getting a competition license, without jumping through a lot of hoops. This is a great time to be alive.
Absolutely. Also want to mention that, tracks matter. I know there's a lot of things out there that are calling themselves road courses that are absolutely terrible. I'm not going to call.
I will.
Honestly, I don't like to throw shade. That as a drag strip, it was brilliant. As a road course, it was god awful.
Yeah, I mean, but a real racetrack versus a kart track versus something they put together. I mean, the BMW Car Club of America used to do up in North Jersey a great event at it was an autocross, but it was at Giant Stadium, which was fantastic until the surface got so destroyed that it was kind of impossible to run. But they were so set on running at that location that they kept going and they kept going and they kept going. And just going to say, location matters. If you have a track near you, go to their calendar and look it up. You'll see open events. Like you said, if it's Corvette Club of America and you don't have a Corvette, you probably have a class for you. Just got to ask.
They usually will take your money.
Yeah.
So, and
Chris, get onto your section.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect when you show up at an HPDE 1 level? What was your day going to be like? Well, first, show up early. You don't want to be the late guy. Pick a spot in the paddock. Doesn't seem to have anyone else there, and also is not right in front of the tech shed or things like that. Unload all
the street.
Right? Don't
park like. Yes.
I didn't think that guy was going to move that trailer. Don't worry. So then unload your car of everything that isn't bolted in. If it's going to rain, put it in a tarp. Put it in a plastic box. Take your tech form that you already printed out and head to tech with your car and your helmet. They need to see your helmet when you go to tech. I'd like to print or take a screenshot of the schedule ahead of time so I have it on my phone or have it with me all the time so I'm not running around trying to figure out where I'm going. And show up to all your meetings 5 minutes early. Again, don't be the late guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to all your classroom sessions. Usually you have to in order to get on track, and usually they're quite worthwhile, and that's the whole point. That's why you're there, is to learn. If you know who your instructor is ahead of time, try to find them if they haven't found you yet, and talk to them about your experience and what your goals are for the weekend, because you need to set up a good communication relationship with your instructor so that you two are talking the same language and you're working toward the same goals. That is critical for success, happiness, and safety as you're out there. When they call your group to grid, they will call it over the loudspeaker usually. And if they don't, and you see that it's about 10 minutes before the time you're supposed to go on there, just go to grid.
You're running late.
Yeah, just go to grid.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. And if they're not ready for you for some reason, the very nice person standing at the entrance to grid will tell you that, and it's okay. They'd rather you're there early than late. Your first
Every time.
Absolutely. Your first session out should not be fast. Don't try to go fast. If you try to go fast, you're going to have a bad time, okay? First time, it's just about learning the track and finding your flag stations and just understanding how all of this works. That's your first session out. Second session, similar, but a little more speed as you get more comfortable, and it progresses from there. So some events have very specific things that the instructors are need to work on you each session. Follow along with the exercises. They're there for a reason. They've usually figured them out fairly well. Go with the flow and talk openly with your instructor about what you're feeling, how you're doing, and what you want, and really listen to what they're saying. They're here to try to make you better, so let them do it.
Yeah, I'm also going to mention something real quick here about like the classroom session. Classroom sessions, everybody thinks they don't need the classroom session, but in that session, they're not only going to talk about racing line and things like that, but they're going to talk about the local rules. You know, each HPDE is going to have a different rule, a different section, how you're going to grid, where you're going to grid, what direction you go around the garages. These are all things that are not going to be known no matter how many times you've been to that track. And you really need to listen to the people who are running the event.
Excellent. And I think another show we'll talk a little bit about some of the trends we're seeing away from actually having in-car instructors and toward video coaching and other things.
Yes.
That's just not just right seating. It's a good topic I want to talk about. I think we're just running a little short on time for that tonight. So Chrissy has a little different experience with HPDE because she started doing all kinds of other racing before ever really doing an HPDE. So she can tell us a little bit about how it might be different for you if you're coming from, say you've been an autocrosser, say you've been a Lemons racer for a while, but you just want to get better. She's got a different point of view.
So I did one HPDE before my first Lemons race. I had an awesome coach. This was at NJMP, who taught me how to go just a little bit faster. Just coached me, just said, just go a little bit harder around this corner. And that was and it was right before our first NJMP Lemons, like all of our team. So when I got on track, I wasn't scared at the Lemons race because I knew how to get around the track the right way. I just had to deal with traffic management. So fast forward, I did a bunch of races and then I went back. Then now I've gone back to HPDEs over the last few years because I really want to get faster in a safe environment, which is what we keep talking about. So I also wanted somebody to point out where I could go faster, where I could brake, where I didn't need to brake, and where I wasn't using the gas. All the gas. That's what I usually say. And where I could make up those seconds per lap. And one of the main differences in wheel to wheel, if there's a car that gets by, they just do it. But in HPDE 1 and 2, there's passing only in certain areas and sections. So that's one of those things that if you're going back to HPDEs, you're really going to have to think about that you have to really point by. You have to think about it. And I struggled with that just a little bit. So I think the differences are really
Wait, point bys? We're point by experts.
Well,
we road race Rolls Royces. How do you not know how to point by?
When you're so used to just going around the track and you say, okay, just get by me. You can't do that in HPDs. You have to tell them and you have to do it in a certain spot and you might be doing that line perfectly and they just really want to get around you. So it's just
the Dodson truck. I installed an arm that just pointed out the window. I didn't even,
So I think the really things are that you just need to have a second seat. And you put it in your Lemons car, you have to know, and you have to get somebody to join you and tell you how to teach it. When they tell you where you're going, you have to do it. That's the other thing, is that there's plenty of times where I've heard an instruction, I didn't really do it, but when I think about it when I'm going around the track and they kind of get in my head and Chris says, a little bit of gas, all the gas. And every time I took that corner, I thought about that. So that kind of instills your confidence to go a little faster. That's what I got.
JG, you had some thoughts on private coaching in the notes. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, actually, you alluded to the whole right seat thing, and I you're right. That probably is a topic for a different show because I think that's a big topic in in itself that the trend is kind of going away from right seating a little bit. But one of the things we are seeing more and more of is the availability and the proliferation of private coaches. And
yes,
and I'm a big fan, man. Like it's hard to make a living as a race car driver. The only way to make a living as a race car driver is to do stuff that's not driving race cars, and private coaching is one of those things that you can basically, for reasonable money, have a famous race car driver show up to a track weekend and kind of help you through that. And if it's something that you want to pursue, even as a non-competitive venue, I think it's going to cost you a few $100, but I think to pay a private coach for a weekend when you have a little bit of experience to where you're starting to get comfortable and ready to make that next step, even if you want to pursue it non-competitively, you will be really, really surprised at how much you can gain by getting a professional outside opinion. I do a lot of right seat work, but myself, I do a lot of coaching with NASA and with other clubs. But having somebody there dedicated to you for a weekend and not trying to get a bunch of people safely to the next group, it's a pretty impressive thing. I mean, it's just like with any other sport. Having a dedicated coach is a pretty impressive way to progress your skills and get to that next level, I think. So I'm a huge fan.
So JG, I know you had said you had some Facebook questions. Would you like to go to them? We're going to do one more segment after this. So if there's something pressing.
Let me just address something on YouTube. And again, this could be a whole other show, but we have some people asking about costs. And I think that's one of the things that also gets lost in this is we're used to this world, so we understand what the costs are. We understand, kind of the financial aspects of this. But for somebody just getting into it, it can be not necessarily daunting, but there can be a lot of unexpected costs, and there can be a lot of sort of aggregate costs that can surprise people. And I don't want to scare anybody away, but I'd like to arm people with some knowledge. I mean, let's just look at a typical track weekend. So you're starting off with a couple $100 of entry fee. You're starting off with, unless it's a very local track to you, a couple $100 in hotel fees. If you split it with somebody, maybe you can cut that down a little bit.
Or you sleep in the back of your suburban tow vehicle.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. Camp at the track, baby.
Yeah.
But then, so if you're towing there, you're talking about you're getting 9 miles a gallon on the way there.
Yep,
so
if
you're lucky,
you're spending probably by the end of the weekend, because you're using a lot more gas on track. You're probably looking at over $100 in gas to get to a track.
Absolutely.
A couple hours away and run that event. Your tires are going to wear a lot faster. If you're driving a Miata, you're talking about a $600 set of tires. If you're driving a C5 Corvette, you're talking about a $1,500 set of tires.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely.
And you can easily go through a set of tires in a C5 at Sebring, a concrete track like that, in a weekend. No problem at all. Yeah, exactly.
Sebring is brutal.
What's a set of brake pads cost for your car? Maybe you'll get multiple weekends out of them, but maybe you won't. What's a set of rotors cost for your car? Because all of a sudden your rotors are going to become wear items. And maybe your rotors, maybe you can get cheap rotors for your car, but maybe those cheap rotors for your car aren't really maybe you'll get a weekend out of a set of cheap rotors. Maybe you'll get 5 weekends out of a set of expensive rotors. So you're pretty quickly into a $800,000-$900,000 weekend for a full weekend of track stuff. And, you don't even have any competition gear to talk about. You aren't getting licensed. So there are cheap ways to get on track, but these costs can kind of add up because they accelerate the wear on other things, and that's something people should be aware of when they start getting into this. Is, get into it for the long haul. Understand that you're not out there competing. There are no Formula One World Sports Car Scouts at any track.
I think I saw one last time I was there. I swear. He came by, and then I wasn't there, and I was like, oh my gosh.
He had a clipboard. That means he's a scout, right?
and a hat that said F1 on it.
Oh, good.
Christy, I think that was a grid girl search. I don't think that was a driver search.
Oh, you even dare. Sorry, Jake, you didn't mean to.
Yeah, so maybe your best approach to some of these weekends is a preservation approach and not an absolute lap.
That's great advice right there. I was going to say the same thing, like protecting your car and knowing what you're going to damage. And again, this is the reason $500 Miatas exist, because a lighter car, a smaller car is going to be so much easier on those wear items.
Sure. Or if you take our AMG Mercedes out, now you're dealing with 285 3019 tires that are $300 each, and $1,000 brake rotors, and burning gas at just an obscene rate. And that's a very different cost than taking the Miata out.
Yeah,
and let me plug something here real quick. And I'm not getting paid for this plug or anything. I'm just a fan, and I think these are going to kind of revolutionize the whole HPDE scene here. This is this is a Simpson hybrid head and neck device.
He's got a box. He's pulling it out.
This is like one of my new favorite things in the world. This is, everybody's heard of the Hans device. Well, a Hans device requires a full race harness to actually be effective.
5 or 6 point race harness.
Yes.
Yeah, this Simpson hybrid harness attaches to your body. It goes on like a backpack basically, and then attaches to your helmet with Hans style post harnesses. And you can use this with regular 3-point belts. So especially, if you're right, I will never again do any right seat, without one of these on. And honestly, if you're just doing a track day in a car with 3-point belts, this is a worthwhile investment right here, because you can replace a lot of stuff, but it's hard to replace your spine.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Well, when we did one lap, that wasn't out really yet. It really wasn't a known option. So we had a Schroth 4-point DOT legal belt, but used that. It was enough to cinch down our head and neck restraint on there and give us some protection over what.
But that's all not movable and in the Mercedes. So.
No.
In as much as right seat as I've done over the last couple of years, I've been looking at one of those. So yeah, it's probably my next investment.
All right.
Yeah, they're fantastic, and they're super comfortable too. I wore one for the first time last year, and I'm a fan, man. I'm just totally sold.
Excellent. Any
Awesome.
other comments on Facebook or YouTube or anywhere else you want to address, JG?
No, I think we're pretty caught up. We actually got some good ideas for future shows about arrive and drives, and the best thing I can say to the folks asking that stuff is you're giving us some great ideas, and watch us on Grassroots Motorsports Live every week. Usually it's Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, and chances are we will deal with that sooner or later. And actually, if you guys are watching our GRM live feed right now, check these guys out at
Everyone Racers.
EveryoneRacers.com.
I linked you guys in the Facebook chat earlier, and I'll put you in. Actually, Mental, you're on the YouTube chat, so go ahead and throw your link up in the YouTube chat there, and then it's actually in the YouTube description as well, because the chat won't the YouTube chat will not persist once this is done, but the description will. So.
Yes,
yeah,
so those of you who tuned in a little bit late, we are Everyone Racers. We are a podcast, a once-a-week podcast. We're a bunch of lemons people just grinding out like everyone else.
Not all. Some of us do other events.
I was going to say, and other things.
And we're like
interrupting
24 hours of lemons racers is what we are. Not lemons people doesn't
lemons
give
people.
them
True, they might not know what that means.
We're not like yellow and stuff.
We are, but this podcast is about endurance racing and how to get on track. And we have Arrive and Drive episodes coming up soon. We have all kinds of things. I know we've talked about it in the past, but I also want to mention that we end every episode the same way, and it's with a safety tip from our girl Chrissy that we call
Just the tip. Tip.
Okay, so we're talking spring car maintenance. So spring car maintenance, probably for your daily driver. So as I said earlier, we did a whole bunch of car maintenance this weekend, and made me think of all the things that you get neglected over the winter because it's too cold out, it's too dark out. You just don't really want to think about doing all of these things. But your car doesn't agree because it doesn't want to be neglected. So here's some random things, and these aren't like just do your oil change. So if you are in a location that uses salt on the road, make sure you bring your car to an automatic car wash. It will thank you. And select the option that has the undercarriage wash because then it'll stop the rust from starting or growing. One of those. Hopefully just starting. Get new wiper blades because chances are you went through a one storm. It was really, it messes with the integrity of the blade. So you want smearing instead of clearing. Doesn't help anyone. Isn't that cute? Okay. Fill your windshield wiper fluid and you don't want to be without any on notice. And especially if you don't have a warning light. My car doesn't have a warning light. It drives me crazy.
You just got to get out and get a handful of snow and wipe it on the windshield, and that helps clean it.
It does.
That sounds kind of unsafe. Do I just like pull over on the side of the road and be like,
That's what I do. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And lastly, clean out the trash while you're at it. Make sure you go glove blacks, which is what I did this weekend, and found registrations and insurance for about the last 5 years. So make sure you remove all of those old treasures. So in addition to all the rest of your maintenance.
Thanks, Chrissy. I can honestly say that I have done absolutely zero of those things
Yes.
all winter.
Hang on. We're on
car.
Facebook Live.
Never
This is my shocked face.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, that just about wraps us up. But we certainly want to thank JG for spending time with us today. We really had a great time and enjoyed having you on. This was great. So
Thank you.
I appreciate the invite, guys. This was a lot of fun. It's good. Mental is a former GRM $2,000 challenge participant.
so are all of us, actually.
We all are.
That's right. Yeah.
You sent out the Holy Trinity recap of the infamous Wartburg, which is how we all met.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I wanted to refresh a story. JJ, you were on the track announcement at the same time that the Wartburg and a Maverick was doing the autocross.
Yeah.
And you said something like, we have a Maverick and a Wartburg autocrossing, two amazing historic race vehicles. We all know the history of these two race vehicles out there right now. I said, this guy's my friend. I don't even know him yet.
Just a quick recap for anybody that doesn't know what that is. Our magazine, Grassroots Motorsports, does an annual event. It's called the $2,000 Challenge. It's kind of the thing. I mean, I got no problem taking credit for it. We kind of started the whole low buck racing movement.
You kind of did.
Yep, absolutely.
Kind of did.
Kind of did.
But it's developed, the coolest thing that it's developed is all these great sort of storylines and it's like professional wrestling now, like the evil alliance and you guys with the
Evil Alliance
and and Andrew Nelson whose father just passed away this week, but these guys that have become these sort of icons of this event and
sub 10 seconds this year didn't
sub 10 seconds.
Yeah, we talked about that right after it happened on our show.
Yeah, that's awesome. I refer to the challenge as a fish concert for gearheads.
Yeah, and that it's something that we're really, really proud of, and we're proud of the cars it's produced, but we're just as proud of the legends that it's produced, and these icons of the scene. So, but yeah, guys, thanks so much for having me. I definitely appreciate it. So I'm going to actually lock out with you guys and say goodbye, and then I'll lock out my Grassroots crowd here, but you can check us out, obviously, at grassrootsmotorsports.com. And, if you don't know who we are, I can't help you. But
why are you here? Why are you here?
Exactly. What are you doing?
If you don't know who Grassroots Motorsports is, you need to find out. Go to their webpage.
Yeah.
Go to their webpage. Go to what is literally the friendliest message board in the history of the internet. And I think it continues to exist exactly because of that. Ask dumb questions, and you'll get some good, solid advice. It's a great community.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm proud to be a part of it, and honored you guys brought me on tonight. And I I will see you around the paddock.
Absolutely.
Thank you, JG.
Thanks,
And
JG.
Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe with the button on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. If you have any questions or want to give us some show ideas, drop us a comment to our Grassroots, oh my God, Gmail account. EveryoneRacers@gmail.com, or like our race team Facebook page, the Three Pedal Mafia Lemons Race Team. If you hate Mark Zuckerberg, we already said that. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up, unless, like us, you have no shiny side because you haven't been to the car wash and you're covered in salt. Just keep the wheels down.